Hey, Tesla 4 members. I just got done installing my power liftgate. Uh, I didn't get that option, the premium option, and that's the number one thing I actually wanted. So I was searching for a way to find it, and I found some Chinese company that sells a kit for the Tesla liftgate. They had it for $3.99 with $50 shipping. So I bought it on a pre-order special because they wanted people to test it. So I was the guinea pig. So I just got done installing it, thanks to some of the forum members that pointed out a few tips on the install. That this was extremely easy to do. Let me show you the trunk. So while I have everything out, I'm gonna do just a walkthrough video of how I ran it. I already installed it. It took me about 3 hours, 2.5 hours. But it will take much less if I knew what I knew now. The install is actually incredibly easy. Any do-it-yourselfer can do it. Let's try it again. Okay. As you can see, the entire car is disassembled. Okay. So basically, when you get the kit, ignore the manual they gave you because it's just awful. And they include things that you don't even need, like, turns out you don't need this OBD2 adapter, and you don't need to run the power to the front of the car and the battery. Forum member posted that there was power back here, which actually made this incredibly easy because that was the number one thing I was fearing, that I had to run the battery all the way, the power all the way to the front, which is a big hassle. So the hardest part is actually removing all the panels. It's the most time consuming. You have to remove everything up here. There's manuals online how to do this stuff. So this one just pops out. You gotta it's 4 pieces up here in total. You gotta take that front one out, then the left, and then the right, and then the top. And for the top one, there were a few Torx screws that you have to remove. There was 2, and everything else is just clips. When you begin with this, before removing this back piece here, you got to pop out these. You just pop them out. I recommend you use a panel popper tool. Trust me, you should invest in one. You'll use this many times in your life. You need it for this install. It helps, greatly helps. You could use flathead screwdrivers, but you might scratch something. So for the install, you also have to remove the big plastic piece that was here originally. There's a 1 Torx screw underneath, and then you have to remove this panel over here. The panel that's over here just pops out, and then this in here, this whole thing right there, you just gotta kind of lift it out, pry it out, pull it towards you, and it comes out. There's instructions online on how to do all that stuff in detail. Let's see, this one company, I'll post a link to the manual, but in the forums they mentioned this site. The lighted rear applique, if you look at their manual, that's what I use. They give you directions on how to remove this entire top area. It has nothing to do with the trunk opener, it's their own product, but it comes in handy for this. So, first thing I did was I removed the factory, whatever you call these, gas tubes or shocks, whatever they are. A little tip on how to remove them, because I had to figure this out. They're actually really easy to remove. I kind of broke my old ones because I didn't realize how to do it. There's a little tab right here. Just put a flathead in and then kind of lift it out, and it pulls this out a little bit. And that's how you remove the old one. It pulls out a little bit, and you pull it out, and that's how you install the new one the same way. You put this in, pull it out a little bit, and it pops in and stays in there. Same thing for the bottom. These actually take like a minute to install. Really easy. Just push it in and pry it a little bit so it unlocks inside, so you can push it on here, and then let release, and it will lock on. Okay. Let's go with the wiring here. So this part I was worried about too, which I shouldn't have worried, is how to run this cable nicely. Oh, by the way, these are labeled right and left, so make sure you pay attention to that. So I removed this boot. You're gonna actually have to remove both of them. There's this one and that front one, the back one behind there. And to get the wire through here, I just used a Phillips screwdriver, and I just punctured it. And I was able to get all the wires through. And it's really, really tight seal. I'm not gonna do silicone, I don't think it's necessary, but you could if you want to be extra careful, but it's really tight in there. Okay. So once you get that wire in there, you have to hold on. You have to get it up here. Okay, and the way I did that is I pushed this all the way inside, push it all the way inside, and I found my way to that hole over there. And then I just used some electrical tape and pulled it out. Actually, what I used really was pulling string. This is much better than the rod. So I put the rod in there, and then I taped some string to it, and then I pulled it out, and I left the string. And I used the string to pull those wires out. All right. So you do the same thing on the other side to get the wires up here. Okay. So. So now running the power cable, thankfully there's power back here, so you don't have to run it all the way to the front of the car. Let me have a seat in here. Okay. So the power cable that comes in here, I ran it up into here. I found my way into the hole in here behind that boot. And the way I got the power plugs through the boot is they're very thick. And I spent a good half hour on this until I realized how to properly do it. So I took that pole. And I put it through here, and I got it out to the other end. And then I got my pulling wire, which I should have done from the beginning, taped to the end of it. Okay. And then I wrapped the pulling wire around the cords. I tied it, and then I put electrical tape around it, so it's very secure. And then I used that to pull it through. It will fit. So just it might be a little tough to pull, but it will go through. That just saved you half an hour because that took me forever to figure out. Because it's very cramped in there. So okay, you run the wire down. I haven't fully finished this. You run the wire down. I'm gonna zip tie it to this. Just haven't got around to it. As you notice, there's a lot of slack. I'm gonna clean that up too, zip tie it. So now regarding the power, this is gonna be really easy if you have these connectors, which I highly recommend. They're called POSI-TAP. I'm using the blue one here. Okay, so there's two cables back here. I'm assuming these were for if you got the upgrade. This is for the power liftgate from Tesla. So they're unused, but one of them has constant power. Now I saw some forum threads. Somebody had a red and gray wire. I didn't have that. So I used my multimeter to find which cable actually had positive 12 volt on it at all times. And it was this gray wire. It was the gray wire right here. Solid gray. Okay, so the POSI-TAP, you unscrew this, put it over the wire, and then you screw this back into it. And it has a little needle inside that punctures the cable. So it's very, very clean. And then you unscrew the top here, and I cut the wire, the power thing. You just strip the wire and put it inside and then screw it on and it stays secure. That's it. That's all for the power. It's very easy. For the ground, for the black wire, I tapped into the one that's already on the wall right there. Unscrew it, put it from the top, and then screwed it back in really tightly. I used an impact. Now for the control box. Okay, so they give you a control box, and the control box comes with one screw. You see that silver screw? And that screws into the back of the control box. And there's also tape on the back of that box, so it's extra secure. So I put it up here, put it up there, remove the tape, let it stick to this, and then put the screw through it, and it's very secure. It won't come off. So, you run all the wires that you have above it, plug it into the box. They're all color coded, so you can't mess up on that. I zip tied them up because there's a lot of extra slack. Do that both sides. You don't need to worry about this yellow plug over here. It's a tiny yellow plug. That one goes to the OBD2 connector. Since we're not using that, and it's not necessary, you don't need it. Okay, now so they include a wire that you have to remove the current Tesla one that's there. So this is kind of tricky to install. Let me get my tool that I used. Okay. So there's a little hole right here. You have to use something really thin and push it, and then this will pop out, okay? So the one that pops out from the factory plugs into their adapter, and then the one coming out from their adapter plugs into there. Okay, so it's just, it's reading that's what it uses to read if the trunk's opening or closing. That's it for the install. You're going to break a few clips, most likely. I recommend buying replacements. They're about $4 on Amazon. And that's it. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'll be happy to answer. I actually forgot to give my opinion on what I think of it, and I must say I absolutely love it. It's I highly recommend it if you don't have the power lift gate. It's very easy to install. I believe any do-it-yourselfer can install this just fine, and the forum members are pretty helpful. It works really well. I find it quiet. Okay, so you can open it from inside the car. So if you click open trunk from the inside or open trunk again, it will close it. And it has a safety feature, so if something gets in the way, it will automatically. Just a little bit of tension. Highly recommend it. Worth every penny. I would have paid more for it, actually. The kit feels very well built. Doesn't feel like anything cheap. It's really nicely made, very well put together. Highly recommend it. I wish the directions were a little bit better, but it actually turned out much easier to install than I thought it was going to be, especially because there's power already back here. If you have any questions, let me know.